Greetings, Acolytes. In the meantime, while I take notes for the next Blood Angels video, I figured it would be a good time to tell you all about something I love. As someone who posts videos about Warhammer lore, it should be no surprise that I am a huge nerd. And as such, I play games like Dungeons & Dragons. One such game is a Warhammer 40k game published by White Wolf in 2009 called Rogue Trader, being followed by a bunch of supplements to flesh out the game. Rogue Trader itself is a tabletop role-playing game, or TTRPG for short, set in the Warhammer 40k universe where the party plays a rogue trader and their command staff. As rogue traders, you are rich and you are powerful. In terms of power scaling compared to the other 40k TTRPGs White Wolf has made, it's in the middle to high tier. We'll start with how the game works and then we'll talk about character creation. Rogue Trader runs on a D100 system, meaning you roll a 100-sided die or 2d10s, with one being the tens digit and the other being the single digit. The way tests work is when you roll for your skill check, you should try to roll under your stat. So let's say you had a 47 to dodge and you were trying to dodge an attack. You'd have to roll a 47 or lower to succeed. Some tests come with difficulty modifiers, meaning that if you rolled above your target number, you could still pass the check. There are such things as degrees of success and degrees of failure. For every 10 below the target number you rolled is 1 degree of success. Same for degrees of failure. It was 1 for every 10 above the target number you rolled. Degrees of success and degrees of failure determine how well your roll goes. If you manage to get at least a few, it's going to be a really good result normally, and if you manage to get at least 6 degrees of success, it can't really get much better without defying the laws of physics. Granted, this is 40k where psychic powers are real and faith can manifest literal miracles, so who cares? Physics are suggestion in this setting at this point. Fate points are a special reroll mechanic within the system. During character creation, you will find out how many you have of your character, and that number never normally changes throughout the entire campaign. Your GM can grant you a temporary one for something cool you do or come up with, but once it's spent, it's not coming back. Basically, you can spend one of your fate points to reroll any check you have failed. You can only use 1 fate point per check, so if you fail on the reroll, you're stuck with the new number. Even if it's worse, you still spend the fate point. They can also be spent to add 10 to your target number, meaning that if you were just above your target number and you add 10 to make it a simple success instead. They also act as a lifeline if your character dies, allowing you to burn a fate point rather than spend it. Burning a fate point means it's lost permanently, but in exchange you avoid immediate and certain death. That way, if the party survives whatever encounter killed you, then at least you will be able to stay alive and keep playing. The first component of playing the game is your stats. If you run a human, you roll 2d10 and add 25. Repeat this 8 more times until you find out what your stats are. The stats are weapon skill for melee attacks and parrying, ballistic skill for ranged attacks, strength for, strength, agility for speed and dodging, toughness for damage and other resistances, intelligence for knowledge checks, perception for seeing how screwed you are when someone sneak attacks you, willpower for resisting the effects of insanity or corruption, and fellowship for talking to people, which if you're playing the game as intended is about 80% of the gameplay at least. Use stats as bases for skill checks or general stat rolls depending what's happening and if skills apply. Up next for character creation is your backstory. For backstory, it's broken into a few major components. Your homeworld, or where you come from. Are you from a forge world, raised in the ways of the Mechanicus? Maybe you're from a hive world, one lucky person amongst billions getting to live the good life. Or maybe you're a death worlder, jaded and toughened from a life of hardship. The next component is your birthright. What was the purpose you were originally born into? Scavenger, savant, child of the creed. Basically, these shape the basis of the personality as it defines how you were raised. After that is the lure to the void. What caused you to travel the void and ride on the edge of the abyss? Were you duty-bound in following an oath? Were you a criminal serving out their sentence? Or did destiny call to you, telling you how you were chosen to bring change to the galaxy? After that is the trials and tribulations. What was the ordeal that your explorer survived that proved them to be a cut above the rest? Did they survive an apocalypse? Were they a member of this military who had an honored service? Did the ship they were on get lost in the warp for a time, only for them and a few others to make it back alive? And lastly, we have your motivations. What drives your character forward? Is it pride? Is it search for riches untold? Is it to exact revenge against those who wronged you? Whatever motivation it is that drives your character to new heights, I'm sure you can find it here. After backstory, now we talk careers and XP. Classes in this game are called careers, with XP being a currency you spend to gain new skills and talents along the way, as well as help improve your stats. Each time you level up is when you gain XP and hit the threshold for the next rank up. The game goes from ranks 1 through 8. Each career has enough skills and talents that even if several people play the same class, they could be built completely differently. Each career has primary, secondary, and tertiary stats, signifying which of the 9 are most important to the class and which are least. shown by how much XP it costs to increase the stats. As stated before, there are 8 main career paths in Rogue Trader. Each one has a variety of special skills and talents. Some careers share these skills and talents between them, but gain them at different ranks. The skills and talents each career has shapes how the career is played. Up first is the Rogue Trader themselves, head of the dynasty and the de facto party leader. Their special ability is their leadership, giving them a +10 to any check of an ally once per round. Their primary stats are weapon skill, intelligence, and fellowship. Pretty much all their skills and talents go into buffing their social interactions, as they are the party's negotiator and leader. The Arch Militant, the gunnery master and combat class of the 8. Their special ability is to have a favorite type of weapon that they do extra damage with and they have a better chance to hit with. Their primary stats are ballistic skill, strength, and agility. All of their talents are bonuses to combat, while their lores and other skills all revolve around combat and its history. The Astropath Ascendant, your resident psyker and the one most likely to be completely weird and insane. Their special ability is the improved strength of their already impressive psychic powers. Their primary skills are intelligence and willpower. Their skills and talents all revolve around wielding the warp to its greatest effect. The Explorator, your tech priest from Mars who can fix the ship up or boost its stats temporarily, as well as provide general buffs to weapons and gear. Their special ability is their cybernetics, starting out with a few and gaining quite a few special ones throughout their skill tree. The Explorator's primary stats are intelligence, strength, and toughness. The multi-tool of the career paths, the Explorator gains half of all the traits in the game, as well as massive buffs to interacting with technology. The Missionary, who are your priests and medics, ready to shield their allies from the ruinous powers and heal them when they get injured. The Missionary's primary ability is their pure faith, allowing them to spend fate points to ignore psychic effects and corruption. Their primary stats are weapon skill, willpower, and fellowship. Many of these skills and talents of a missionaries unsurprisingly revolve around the church and combating the occult. Navigators, your ship's guide to the Immaterium, also generally pretty eccentric like the Astropath. The special ability of the Navigator career is their signature Warp Eye, allowing them to release a wide range of effects from it. Their primary stats are intelligence, perception, and willpower. The skills and talents revolve around navigating the ship safely through the warp and dealing with any potential risks to that effort. The Seneschal, or the right hand to the Rogue Trader themselves, who does all the paperwork so that the Rogue Trader doesn't have to. The Seneschal can spend fate points to auto-succeed lore tests and the like, as well as increase degrees of success on commerce tests. The Seneschal's primary stats are intelligence, perception, and fellowship. Their skills revolve around knowing about as much as possible. From forbidden lores like Xenos to connections in the underworld, as well as incredible social buffs, the Seneschal is the unseen hand of the Rogue Trader. They are the ones getting their hands dirty to ensure the Rogue Trader's will is fulfilled. And the Voidmaster, the ship's pilot and extension of its body, as they can control the ship like an extension of their own body. Their special abilities give them rerolls to movement and attacks with the ship. For any Xenos fans, thankfully there are options for you. Orcs, Eldar, Tau, and Kroot also have rules and supplements as playable races. They have their own main career paths as well, but I will talk about that in a later video. There are also alternative careers, which can be found in the many supplements for the game. Alternative careers replace one rank from your normal rank tree and are sometimes restricted to certain careers or need certain stat requirements or actions from the player to be eligible to take it. These can be anything from awakening as a psyker to becoming a secessionist from the Imperium or even becoming a bounty hunter. Skills are the specialized things stats are used as the basis for. Since there's 50, I won't go into too much detail, but I'll run down the general idea of some of them that are available. There's social skills for talking to people and to getting what you want. Lore skills for knowing the best info to help with any given situation, movement skills for dodging, stealth, and stalking people, language skills because yes, there is a language system in this game. Then there's technical skills like Medicae, tech use, which is completely overpowered, and trades, also completely overpowered. Talents are an integral part of what helps shape your character. These are abilities or special modifiers you can unlock as you progress that let you do special things and really help personalize your character. There are 147 of them in the core rulebook without even talking supplements, so I could spend entire videos just talking talents. Suffice it to say though, there's a lot of them. From becoming a machine to increasing how much money you make, there's a lot to choose from, although your career path restricts which ones you can take. Although another potential restriction is your stats. Certain talents require you to have your stats be a specific number, or having other previous talents as a basis for the new one. Now while you normally can't take anything from another career path, sometimes your GM will be cool and let you do it for double the XP cost as an elite advance, as it's called. Because you know someone who could give it to you, and it makes sense in character for you to get. Now you've got your career, your backstory, and your skills and talents picked out, it's time to explain what is arguably the most important number on your character sheet. Profit factor. You as a Rogue Trader dynasty have so much money that it is used as an abstract stat rather than a number, As you buy something with profit factor, it will always be available to you. If one of it breaks, you will always have another ready, because every purchase is basically a lifetime supply, assuming you don't break one every session. If you want a goal for your characters as to why to play, it's to get as much profit factor as possible. Buying things relies on 3 major modifiers for the purchase roll. The base modifier is how rare an item is. Everything from a tent to Artificer power armor has a rarity and can be acquired, assuming you know someone to buy them from. The next component of buying equipment is scale, or how many people you are equipping it with. From 1 person to over 10,000, you can equip yourself or an entire army with just a few rolls, assuming you have the profit factor and luck. And the final modifier, the quality of the item. It goes from poor, easy to get but usually has drawbacks, to best quality, where it gives massive bonuses compared to the basic version. If you want something else to help increase your chances, you can also try to negotiate to help modify your roll. You can roll charm, trade, commerce, or other viable skills determined by your GM to try and modify the target number for the roll. A basic success grants a +2 to the target number, with each degree of success providing an additional +2 to the modifier. The way you gain profit factor is through endeavors. Basically, you come up with a way to make money, be it a new product to sell, service to provide, or a new major asset like a planet or relic. An endeavor is broken into several parts or encounters structured by your GM to make it possible. Once the goal is identified, you progress through the encounters, making your own decisions and plans about how to get the end result you want. Once you reach the end, you've either gotten what you wanted or failed and wasted time and resources, maybe even losing profit factor in the process. However, improved results might give you an increased amount of profit factor, as well as other rewards like social connections, items, or the like. Now I've talked about you and your wallet, it's time to talk about your ship. Ships and their construction are broken into a few main sections. Firstly, there's the hull, or the body of your ship. Then there's essential components, the things that keep your ship running. There's supplemental components, special components that allow your ship to do more than just go places and provide special bonuses to certain tests and interactions. Weapons, archaeotech, and Xenos components also count as supplemental components. Everything comes with a power cost, space cost, and ship point cost. Ship points determine rarity, power is determined by the plasma reactor that's chosen for the ship, and space is determined by what hull you choose to fly with. A special stat to all ships are the crew and morale stats. They both start at 100 and can go up or down depending on actions during encounters and what components are on board the ship. If the crew stat gets too low, then the ship struggles to operate efficiently, and if morale gets too low, you might have a mutiny on your hands. Ship's crews also have their own ratings or base stat when the crew is rolling instead of characters. This starts at 30 but can go up quite a bit and is usually worth investing in. Let's talk about the hull now, or the body of your ship. The hull determines your speed, stealth, size, weapon mounting slots, crew size, hull points, armor, and more. Hull types are broken into a few classifications, with several models for each subtype. There's a few kinds of smaller ships. There's transports, which are just merchant ships with little defense but inbuilt cargo holds. Raiders, which are small, nimble, and very stealthy, perfect for hit-and-run tactics. There's frigates, slightly larger and more well-rounded out of the 3. These 3 ship types are probably what you'll start out flying. Once you get more profit factor, you can move up into the many types of cruisers. First up, for the big ships, there's light cruisers, well-rounded and a staple of the Navy. Regular cruisers are the bigger, badder, and improved versions of the lighter cousins. Battle cruisers are the next step up. Just one of these can shift the political scene in the Expanse, and it's quite the statement of your dynasty's wealth. And finally, there's Grand Cruisers, which are basically capital ships. Only the wealthiest and most powerful rogue traders can afford to buy one of these. Never mind actually maintaining one and repairing it if it gets damaged. Owning one of these is the epitome of big stick diplomacy, as with one of these, only someone stupid would ignore a group capable of fielding one of them. Components come with their own special rules. Several components have a few variants of themselves, with certain values fitting for certain ships. We'll go over essential components, weapons, supplemental components, archaeotech, and Xenos components. Essential components are a set of components that every ship is required to have. You can't skip out on these, and you must have one of each. You need a plasma drive, warp engine, Geller field, void shields, a bridge, life support, crew quarters, and an auger array. Despite these all seeming mundane, there's a lot of variation between different models of each component, some allowing your ship to do some really wild stuff, like cutting down warp travel time or keeping your crew high on airborne drugs. Most regular essential components have no ship point cost, but if you want something special, it'll cost you. Supplemental components are entirely optional to a ship's functions and act as your toolbox when it comes to interacting with the Expanse. Trophy rooms show off your triumphs, cargo holds to make trade runs, laboratories to uncover the secrets of the Expanse, and even Xenos habitats to work on friendly relations with other races. If there's something cool you want your ship to be able to do, there's almost certainly something available. Weapons are also a type of supplemental component, although this is because anything that isn't an essential component is labeled supplemental. Weapons break down into a few main categories: lance, macro, torpedo tubes, nova cannons, and hangar bays. Some of these components require you to have a certain ship size like the nova cannon, or can only be fitted on the front or sides of the ship like the torpedo tubes and hangar bays. Compared to most components, weapons are exceptionally expensive in both space and power requirements on their ships. They also cost a decent amount of ship points, and most ships aren't considered complete without one, as the 40k galaxy is an incredibly dangerous place. Archaeotech components are a special subtype of components that can be essential components, weapons, or supplemental components. These incredibly expensive but incredibly powerful parts are very much sought after, and if you get the chance to have one, don't pass it up. Xenos components are like Archaeotech components, but even harder to get since Xenos don't like giving up their stuff, and buying from an Imperial source is highly illegal. Xenos components let you do some of the most crazy stuff, but getting what is exceptionally hard and expensive, and every Imperial you interact with will judge you for having one. Ship encounters work very different from player encounters, because in a ship you can just dive into the warp if things seem bad, at very high risk, but still. Most of the time you'll see another neutral ship, ping them to let you know who you are and what your intentions are, and you'll both go on your merry way. However, when they decide you seem like easy pickings, or someone gets the drop on you, everything else gets really, really crazy really quick. Your ship's move stat is of course how many tiles it can move if you're playing on the grid, but moving a model inches also works as a good form of measurement. Important maneuvers have to be rolled for with a pilot test, like turning abruptly, running away, or stealthing closer to an enemy ship. The Aid the Machine Spirit action can also be used to boost the ship's maneuverability stat for a turn to give your pilot that extra little push they need. When in combat, it's always good to know what components your enemy has and where. While you can normally guess the weapons because they're external and shooting at you, everything else is unknown. That's where detection and scrutiny come in to determine what a ship's components are to be targeted. Aid the Machine Spirit can also boost this roll instead of maneuverability, so choose wisely. Ramming and boarding are also possible actions if you're feeling brave, as boarding and ramming require you to get right next to the enemy. Ramming damages your own ship as well as your enemies, so don't do it unless they're about to die, much smaller than you, or you're out of options. Boarding is a great way to cause crew and morale losses, as well as causing crippling effects to the enemy's components. If damaged, your ship can also take the extended repairs test to try and fix a damaged component. However, this takes 1d5 turns in which one of your characters will be unable to take any more actions, so be careful about using it. There's also other actions to jam enemy ships, lie to your crew to raise morale, boost the roll, or help lower crew losses after an attack. While not in your ship, there's also player encounters. From diplomatic meetings to being caught in a trap, there's plenty that can happen outside the ship. To avoid the high likelihood of character death in a hyper-lethal system like this, it's best to make as many friends as possible and keep interactions social rather than combat. This lends itself to the fact that Rogue Trader is inherently an intrigue game, where social interactions and politics are the way to play the game rather than more common fights in other systems like D&D. Compared to the other White Wolf 40k TTRPGs, Rogue Trader is on the mid to high tier of gameplay as far as power scaling is concerned. As a Rogue Trader dynasty, you have connections and wealth that characters from Dark Heresy could only dream of. But if you're all about combat, this might not be the best game for you either, as it is a hyper-lethal system, so death of a character and player is always on the table. If you want your game to be mostly combat, then I recommend Deathwatch instead, as it has you playing a Marine squad sent on various missions revolving around killing stuff. And if you're sick of the Imperium and want to play with the Ruinous Powers, then I'm sorry to disappoint you, but there's very little in the way of chaos and traitor stuff to play with. If you want something like that, I recommend you play Black Crusade, which is everything from combat like Deathwatch to intrigue like Rogue Trader. Mind you, all these game systems use the same rules for everything, so feel free to compare and contrast to see which one fits your playstyle. As always, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like and maybe subscribing. If you have any fun stories from a 40k TTRPG, then I would love to hear about them in the comments section below or in my Discord, link in the description. I stream weekly from 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays on twitch.tv/brothersenderx, so I hope I can see you there sometime. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and take care out there.